We're back into the commission room. We'll get started, and I'm glad we had a chance for a little fellowship here. That's good. Make this part of the agenda. Thank you for allowing us that short break. Next up, the resolution agenda, old business. Up first is item number 2. Commissioner Shell, you're recognized on item number 2.
Thank you, Mayor. Of course, it's the second reading. It's been discussed at 2 different work sessions, a regular business meeting. I spoke to the administrative and executive committees. A couple of meetings back, Mr. Vance asked me to get some opinions from the various department chiefs, and the consensus there has been overwhelmingly positive. To be succinct, they said yes, good idea, and we'd be happy to cooperate in any way possible. I've discussed this at length, but I'm prepared to discuss it more at the pleasure of my fellow commissioners.
Commissioner Shaw moves for adoption of item number 2, seconded by Commissioner Stidham. You heard the motion. Any discussion? Questions for Commissioner Shaw? Commissioner Crawford, you're recognized.
Yes, Pat, I've not been satisfied as to the now therefore on the bottom of the page there that these commissioners will be appointed annually. Who is going to do that appointing?
Thank you for your question, Larry. I would propose that the commission reappoints the commissioners, just like we would initially appoint them.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Crossway.
Pat, you pretty well answered my question with Larry. I think the mayor ought to be the head of this committee if we pass it, and why can't all the commissioners be on it? You know, and just having a few, that's just another committee, and we all have input on things, so that's my views on it. So.
Would you need a response?
Please.
Okay. First, we can start getting above the number 8 to do some strategizing and, in this case, initial determination of what should be included in the long-range plan and all that. It's really hard to work with a group much bigger than 8. But like all the other committees, they bring their work to the full commission for approval and further discussion, deliberation as required. And I found out during the discussions during the committee sessions, which are pretty good, you know, executive and admin committee, that a lot of the commissioners opined that getting this thing up and running initially, maybe several years down the road, it wouldn't be as much as time consuming, but they said they thought that it could be very time consuming, and we range from, as individuals on this commission, we range from people like myself that are retired to people like Angie and Colette, who are extremely busy, busiest people I know. So some commissioners probably, while they're talented and interested, they may not have the time to actually do this. I hope I answered your question.
Commissioner Vance.
Well, when you state long-term is identified from anywhere from 10 to 20 years. Everyone in this chamber and every constitutional office holder in this county is short-term, 4 years. And I understand and support planning for the future, which we've done a lot of things in the county that we planned out maybe back several years ago that was an agenda item that the commissioners have supported, and we've actually accepted the benefits or the criticism for it. I still think that the administrative committee and the executive committee and the budget committee have oversight on various departments and constitutional office holders. And if each one of those committees would take the concept of your recommendation, it would create an understanding with each committee, administrative, executive, and budget committee, to be able to work with the elected officials and department heads, and then they can present a total all plan that this county commission can look at and review themselves, and they can adopt or not adopt. I think creating another committee is not really doing the job that what the committees were established for. And I've said this before, it seems to me over the last several years that the county commission has really got away from the committees that we've already had and been established, and got away from them and actually being a working committee. And I have talked to some of the department heads and elected officials, and in talking to those officials, they agree that they would like to do the long-term plan, but you got to understand, there's a lot of them just now getting into office, and they're trying to determine, themselves where they're at and where they need to go. And by putting that much more pressure on them to try to come up with a long-term plan, I don't know if they've really got a feeling of what they think they're going to need in a long-term basis. So I personally will not vote for this, but I would encourage the three standing committees to look at them creating some guidelines and some timetables and so forth to establish with their departments that they oversee, and let that be populated through the three committees. And I just think that it would work a lot better. It would not only help the committees understand the departments that come in front of them, but also understand that when they come under budget issues, that they can actually turn around and understand what the need. So I think it's great for, I used to be up here as a department, and we always answered under the administrative committee, and when there was something we needed in our department, we always contacted the chairman of the administrative committee, and we would tell them what was going on within the department and our needs. And then that chairman of the administrative committee helped communicate the needs with the other commissioners from the administrative committee. And if it come to be a budgetary item, then it went over to the budget committee for them to look at it. And I think we've lost that. Several of you all said over the last 4 years that, there's things that come in front of our committee, don't even come in front of us. A couple of commissioners will put their name on it, and they'll know all about it. And here we're on this committee, we don't know anything about it. So I think to keep continuity and empower, I guess you could use the word empower, the three committees, I think we need to empower the three committees to do their work. And I think that's showing respect for these committees and these committee members, and not creating a whole new wheel to have to be turned. And that's why I can't vote for that. I will support whatever the administrative and executive committee and the budget committee comes up as a recommendation, as a full long-term plan.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Mark. You did raise several issues. Let me see if I can cover them all. I infer from your remarks that you believe in strong committee structures in terms of the three primary standing committees, and I agree, those are very important, and a lot of the hard work and the best work that we do as a commission is done in the committees. Having said that, I see that long-term planning, which for the purpose of this action I define as greater than 1 year, I see it as a discrete function, particularly given the fact that we don't already have a long-range plan. It takes some real focused thought, a real intellectual exercise, if you will, but vital, to put together a long-range plan. And in terms of the department chiefs, yes, I've talked to some of them, and they said essentially, yeah, I'm kind of getting on board. And no commissioner is going to, I don't think, is going to ask them, make unreasonable demands upon them and their time, but they've all indicated they'd be cooperative, and I think in the long term, it will serve their interests because it will enable them to sort of focus their thoughts and about what are the long-term needs of their various departments. And as you know, any commission can overturn previous commission's work, but these things, once established, tend to stay established with tweaking and adding and completing and deleting as time goes by to what fits the organization's needs.
Mark, you requested, and I think he wants.
I just want to say this, I think we're creating this committee and we're circumventing the administrative and executive and budget committee. And I think we're circumventing what they should be doing, and we're removing the responsibilities of those committees. And if it gets the votes, that's fine, but if I was on a committee, and I feel like, and I wasn't on the long-term planning committee, I feel like I would be taken out of a position that I was serving on that committee to look at those views. And I think we're circumventing the committees. We're taking power or authority away from them and putting it somewhere else. And I don't like that. I don't think that's good government.
Thank you, Mark. Commissioner Broughton, you're recognized.
Thank you. I support this, and I don't think we're circumventing anything. I think what we're going to try to do with this is diversify the opinion to make sure long-term decisions aren't made by just a few folks. That way it can have a good varied input. The only thing I would recommend to Mr. Shull, if he would entertain the idea, is take one commissioner per district. That way it would limit your numbers smaller than the entire commission, but yet not hardly go to your 8, but be awful close. Like I said, I support this, and if Mr. Shull would like to do that, that's fine. If he doesn't, I'll still support it. But as I said, I think the intent of this is not to circumvent anything, but to give the General Commission some input on the future growth of this county.
Mr. Broughton, are you proposing as an amendment and asking the sponsor to accept it? Mr. Shull, you accept the amendment as proposed by Mr. Broughton?
I believe the amendment would read that the county, words to the effect that the county commission would appoint one commissioner per district, total 11 members of this committee. I think it's overkill, but I'll accept it.
Have you got that? You want that? You got it? Okay. Generally, if it's a complicated one, we try to get it in writing. Teresa says she's got it, so it will be amended to maybe no fewer than 6 and no more than 11.
That'd be fair. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shull. Without objection, amendment number 1 is accepted. Mr. Starnes.
Yes, I think I'm going to support this, Pat. You know that. Because I think it's a goal-setting thing for our county. We're not just, I think we'll do this today and do that next month. No, we're going to make a plan and we're going to stick to it and show our voters and the residents of this county that we're serious about the change that they want.
Thank you. Mr. King. I'm sorry, turn the stuff off. We've got a new system.
Anyway, Commissioner Mance, I'm going to have to put a copyright on my ideas because you said exactly what I did a month ago. So, getting to that, but I think I think the taxpayers in Sullivan County and the voters have voted for 24 people. And I think that's where we need to stay with our 3 committees. To get this thing started, I'd like to see all 24 commissioners through our committees, through the chairman of each committee, ask for 5 of their wants or whatever, 5 things that they want to talk about that's most important to them in this commission. And I think that's where we could start at. And I'm sure out of the 24 commissioners, if you wrote down 5 things that we needed to talk about long-term planning, there would be some stuff that come to the top. And then that's where we could start. But I still think that we need to go through the commissions each one of the different, not the commissions, the committees, and then come back to the full commission and talk about this stuff. And that way, everybody's involved in it, and everybody's got a part of it.
Mr. King, are you offering that as an amendment or just a suggestion?
Just a suggestion.
Okay. Commissioner Hutton?
Pat, I appreciate you taking that amendment. I think that's a good thing. I'm for this planning committee. I think I've served on a number of planning committees, long-term planning committees in my career, and I think they're invaluable. I think that one of the things that you guys are concerned about, Mark, I think you and Dwight both have some good ideas in terms of how the committees themselves would work. The way I understand the Long Range Planning Committee is it actually is a fact-gathering group that actually spends time talking to all the stakeholders. And I think it would be wise for whoever's on that committee, and I'm going to be on it myself, but that they would spend time actually talking to each of the committees, all the constitutional office holders. I don't see that committee as a group of people making a decision and then trying to enforce it. That's not what a long-range planning committee does. That's the group that pulls everything together, pulls everybody's ideas together, listens to everybody, is the communication hub that hears everybody's ideas and then helps to prioritize it. And at 11 people on 11 commissioners on it, that's an optimal size. I mean, anything over that, it's cumbersome. I mean, think about trying to get 24 people in this room like right now having a conversation about long-range planning. We could probably do it at a retreat, but it's tough to do when you have a large group of people weighing in. That group is just trying to pull it all together and divvy the information out. So I'm going to support it.
Thank you, Mark, proving the adage that great minds think alike.
I don't have a comment on that. I just couldn't think of anything funny to say. I'm sorry. Any other further questions for the sponsor? He renews his motion for adoption on second and final reading. Required 13 votes for passage. No further discussion. When the board opens, cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
12 yes, 11 no, 1 absent.
Having failed to receive the necessary majority.
I thought I hit my button. I'm very sorry. I did hit it. It just didn't register. I did register.
And a silence descended over the commission. I'm going to have to check the local rule. I know in the General Assembly, if you miss the vote on the board, you can run as fast as you can to the speaker's desk and change your vote, but not change the outcome. Now I'm going to ask county attorney about local rules.
Well, I'm not really sure I understand what happened. What are you saying happened? You pushed your button, but it didn't?
I did it, it didn't register.
So what, it show up as absence?
No.
I wouldn't think that would require any special procedure. If that's the statement of the commissioner, it was just a mistake and he needs to be able to vote, period. He's not changing his vote, he just didn't vote. He hit the button, it didn't register.
Does Pat want to know how I'm going to vote before I do it? Sure.
I mean, it failed, so there's only one, well.
It failed without his vote.
It could affect the outcome, but I mean, you know, he's not changing his vote. He said he hit the button, it didn't register. We have to believe him. He needs to be able to vote. So you just need to record his vote. That's my opinion.
Okay. I disagree with the county attorney. And I'm not sure exactly how to handle this because I think Commissioner Shelton deserves a fair hearing, and I think he counted his votes. But I also want to be fair in following the rules. The rules of the House may vary from the rules here. So I'm going to withdraw my declaration of passing or failing and do that at a later time after I check the rules. I think you want us to follow the rules and see if we have any local rules on voting. We've changed to a system of electronic voting, and I believe, I normally say, has everyone voted? And everyone looks at the board, and I say, does anyone wish to change their vote? And it didn't happen. So this is highly irregular. I guess what I'm going to do is that I'm not going to declare the vote null and void or passed, but I would like to, at the end of the meeting, take some time to check, because Dan and I usually agree on everything. I think his premise that the commissioner deserves an opportunity to vote is true, but I guess I think you had the opportunity on the system we have. So we will move on to the next one, and if you all will, at the end of this meeting, then I'll prefer another look at okay. Commissioner Gardner.
If I may, I don't want to belabor the point too bad. I actually thought I did, and I'm just gotten so used to hitting it that I very seldom look up there, and I do apologize for that. But I actually thought I voted, and I apologize for the confusion.
I think we all understand how that can happen, because it is new. So, is there any objection to doing what I just said, to go ahead and get through this agenda and then give Dan now a chance to consult, or I will rule right now if you'd like. I just want to be fair, and I rule that I know that it is felt due like a majority, but based on Dan's opinion, I certainly want to be fair. Okay? Any objection? Seeing none, we move on to item number 3. Commissioner Broughton, you...
Yes, sir. I was wondering, and I'm new to this, I may be incorrect, but could somebody place a motion to reconsider on and then do a vote? If
somebody didn't vote for it.
Well, that would be Mr. Gardner, if he makes a motion to reconsider. Well, then he didn't vote for it.
Well, let's I think the motion to reconsider must come from the winning side.
I've seen it before when it didn't, when Mr. Hauser placed it on an issue several months back.
Dan, you let me know.
A motion to reconsider is on proper when the motion passes, and there's nothing to reconsider, it failed. Now, what could be used similar to what you're talking about is just have Commissioner Hall move to pass his resolution again. I mean, just because it failed doesn't mean that we can't vote on it again. Typically, the sponsor says that there's been progress in the effort to pass it, and he moves for passage of resolution number 2 again. You can do that and just vote again. And I think that would be in order.
I accepted the county attorney's explanation at a previous time that we could do that, and I accept that now. So the chair will rule that if Mr. Hall requests that his resolution be considered again, we will do that immediately.
So moved.
Mr. Shaw requests that his motion, that his resolution be reconsidered, moves for adoption on second reading, seconded by Commissioner Stidham. And the floor is now open for discussion. Commissioner Stanley, you're recognized.
I have a question. On the amendment that they put in, was it to pick one person per district? Because I heard you say something, no less than 6 and no more than 11.
I thought that was the way to, a simple way to amend the resolution, but it is one per district, no less than 6, meaning no less than 6 and no more than 11. We could strike out the no less than 6. But it is amended to apply to one per district. Mr. Shaw, you have any, we have, Mr. Cross has a question.
I can bring this up because I'm the only one in my district, so it won't be any better.
It's gonna be you.
How will they pick per district? In other words, in districts with 2 or 3, who will be making that decision?
Are you directing that to me?
I'm directing it to, yes, you, I guess you, yes.
The commission will decide. We'll have discussion and we'll work it out.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Cross, it would be my, Mr. Shaw, if I may, we would probably prepare a ballot, and those multiple candidate districts, multiple commissioner districts would be on that ballot, and you could vote for one. It'd just be like voting in a 3 commissioner district. You vote for one. You're recognized.
All right, so we would all vote, like, in other words, I would be casting a vote for who it should be from district number 4.
In every district.
Okay, thank you.
That's the way we would prepare the ballot. So, good, Mr. Shaw was agreeable with that. Mr. Blaylock, you're recognized.
Well, I want to know how, if we have one per district or 2 per district, how do we pick the chairman? Chairman is probably a long-range committee.
Commissioner Shaw.
Once the 11 are picked, they pick a chairman
They
and
do
vice chair
themselves.
among themselves.
Okay. I just wondered if maybe the mayor could be the chairman. Start out with.
Commissioner Jones. Or, I'm sorry, Commissioner, were you through?
Well, no, I was wondering if maybe you could be the chairman to start out with until everybody had the first meeting or 2, and then to see who might be the best one. I don't know. I just thought
It
maybe
would
you
have to
might
be
be the best
amended.
chairman.
I think it would have to be amended to.
Would it? Okay.
Pat, are you agreed that it would have to be amended?
It was not my intent to put any extra burden on the mayor. I mean, he's got a real big job, you know?
Commissioner Blaylock, were you finished?
I guess so.
I don't want to cut your mic off. I gotta cut these mics off. And I don't want to cut you off. Commissioner Sam Jones.
Are we working under Robert's rules or under local
We're
rules?
working under Robert's rules with the exception of the local rules.
Well, the motion to reconsider.
This is not a motion to reconsider.
Didn't we have a motion to reconsider?
No, the county attorney told us that that was not a proper motion in this case.
That's what I thought. It says it has to be prevailing side.
Yeah,
It has to move that.
And the county attorney opined that that was not a proper motion. So we moved on. The county attorney advised us that if the sponsor advised the commission that progress had been made, and we did this about 2 months ago, I believe, that progress had been made. Is that correct, Dan? On the budget. We did on the budget in last session, I guess. Progress had been made, and he declared that. And so we're back on the resolution. We're back on the motion for Another question? Okay. And Jim, we'll get to you. I want to make sure I finish up the same. Angie, you're recognized. You're right. No, you're recognized.
Why can we not have the individual committees work with the departments and have them to come up with a and then the whole commission is involved? But we're like in sections, and we're not all hearing. I mean, I don't think in 4 years we could even come up with a long-term plan if just those 11 people dealt with every department in here. I mean, I think that would be a lot of area to cover with one committee, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And if we break it down where each committee has their departments and stuff, I think that those committees could come to a better long-term plan than just one committee doing all of the departments.
Mr. Shaw, you have any comment? Not necessary, I just checking with you.
Well, once again, I just think that a relatively small number of commissioners applying focused thought to this issue and realizing there's not some long, multi-page plan is gonna be produced overnight, because we're just getting started doing this. I think it's easier and quicker and than involving all the commission at once, and besides, all the commission eventually has to approve whatever the product is, and so it's not like people are cut out of the, input. And I foresee that if this committee comes together, they figure out a meeting time and so forth, they meet periodically, and other commissioners, even if they weren't on the committee, could sit in, just like we do on the admin and executive committee and budget committee. If we're not on that committee, we still sit there and listen and get recognized by the chair if we, really have something we want to offer. So, I mean, that same thing can happen here.
Mr. Glover, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Sullivan, how are you going to feel if you're not one of these 8 people?
That'd be like in the past.
I mean, I understand that, but we got 24 commissioners here. We have a workshop on the Thursday night before our regular meeting. And I feel like, and I think other commissioners do too, that's the reason we have committees already in place. We have an administrative committee, we have a budget committee, we have an executive committee. And why don't we set an hour aside at the end of our workshop, let these committee chairmen and the vice chairman, if they can't be here, bring forward the ideals that we discussed at those particular meetings. That, all 24 commissioners has to vote on it anyway. So that's my point. Why form another committee when we've already got committees that bring the ideals forward for the people we represent? If you pick 9 commissioners or 11 commissioners, we might not all have the same ideals at that point in time. And how do you represent the people that elected you if you're locked out of the process? I think when you block a commissioner out of the process, you block the people that they represent out of the process. Okay. If it's, in Andrew's case, that's fine. I mean, you got one commissioner. I mean, he's the top dog, and Randy here is, top dog too. I mean, they can be the chairman and the vice chairman of this committee. But I think since we're already here, and this long-term committee, are we going to meet every month like the other ones? And are we going to meet every 3 months? I feel like since all 24 commissioners is here, let's bring those ideals in. We have to vote on them anyway. It's going to save time, and it's going to be more efficient for the department heads.
I don't agree with the characterization that commissioners would be locked out of the process. They wouldn't be locked out no more than a commissioner who's not on the budget committee does have a chance to contribute and we all vote on the budget. So I don't accept that characterization, but I do think that the smaller the committee, the better the product. It's more focused. It can be more complete.
Any further questions for the sponsor?
I think we got somebody on order over here, he's causing commotion.
You want me to declare him out of order and have him removed?
Again, that's the second time.
I would remind the esteemed commissioners from Bristol area too. Gentlemen don't wear hats. I think we're ready to vote on this, Pat.
Thanks, sir.
He renews his motion. When the board opens, cast your vote.
Here I go.
Oh, we're gonna have to do roll call, Pat. We done got it off the board. So it's gonna be roll call vote. We can only vote on it on the board one time unless we reconfigure the board.
Roll call is accepted.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you do a roll call vote?
Eckerd?
Yes.
Blaylock? No. Broughton?
Yes.
Calton? No. Cole?
Yes.
Crawford?
No.
Cross?
No.
Crosswhite? No. Gardner?
Yes, please.
George? Yes. Glover?
No.
Parker Rose?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
No. Shaw,
Yes.
Stanley,
No.
Starnes,
Yes.
Stidham,
Yes.
Vance,
No.
and Woods.
Yes.
12 yes and 12 no.
In that case, under local rules, the mayor gets to vote. Shall be my second vote in 9 years. And having listened to the debate among the commissioners and the argument, I vote no. Having failed to receive a majority, item number 2 fails. Moving on to item number 3, Commissioner Shaw, you're recognized on item number 3.
As I indicated last Thursday during the work session, that I would like to defer this item indefinitely.
Without objection, item number 3 is deferred. Under old business, item number 4. Commissioner Stanley, you're recognized on item number 4.
This is to post a 25 mile an hour speed limit sign on Brookfield Drive. We have had, the highway commissioner had went out and looked at it and said that there was not no speed limit signs posted nowhere in the neighborhood, so he's wanting to post these hopefully to slow down some speeders.
You've heard the explanation, seconded by Commissioner Sam Jones. Questions for the sponsor? And this will be as amended to correct a typographical error. Commissioner King.
Yeah, am I not correct at all? Roads in Sullivan County is 35 miles if not posted. If it's not posted, it's 35 miles. My second question is, how many speeding tickets have been issued on this road?
We have had 2 people that have literally ran through a gentleman's house.
How many tickets, though, have been written on this road?
I don't know, I know that they have had an officer go out there radar.
Right, and I guess my point is, you could put whatever speed limit on there, but if there's nobody out there to write tickets or slow these people down, they're not going to abide by it.
There have been some officers out there here lately.
Any further questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. The sponsor renews her motion for adoption on second reading. The board's open. Cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Having received the necessary majority, item number 4 is adopted. That completes our old business agenda. Next up, the resolution agenda, new business on first reading before the commission. Item number 5, Commissioner Jones. You're recognized on item number 5.
This is to support the legislative platform of CTAS for the coming year as we go before the legislature. There's several different areas it covers. These items were all discussed at our conference in Chattanooga, and that's where it came out of. I'm asking for support of our legislative platform from CTAS for this coming year as they meet with legislators.
And this is on first reading, Sam?
Yes.
Okay. We have a couple questions. Commissioner Crawford.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to make a statement first that I said I would support this bill, but I have since changed my mind. But I go back to my intent with my conversation earlier. I just don't see what this resolution, what purpose this is having. for the TCSA. They're gonna do what they've got in here to do, whether we support it or not. I just don't think it's a resolution that's gonna have any major impact one way or the other, for us or for them.
Mr. Jones, you're always recognized as the sponsor.
Well, as a member, and each of us are voting members that are present there, it's just giving our support of the agenda that was debated and talked about at our conference. And it's just giving our county's support of it. Yeah, you're right, they're going to go ahead and act on it. But this is giving our support for the agenda that was agreed on and voted on in each of the committees.
Mr. Broughton, you're recognized.
Thank you. As we discussed in our work session, there's a couple sticking points on here. Mr. Vance brought up a good one about this says we won't repeal the gas tax, and that we would support not repealing the gas tax. I guess would be a more correct way to say that. And as I stated in the work session, one of Bill Lee's platforms was school vouchers, and the Tennessee County Commission Association opposes school vouchers. So I just don't think it's right to come out of the gate telling our newly elected governor that we don't support one of his platforms. So I cannot support this.
Any further questions for the sponsor? First reading. Sam, do you have a final? Be on the agenda, second reading next month. Next up, item number 6. Commissioner Morrell, you're recognized, and Commissioner Morrell will request waiving the rule. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would first like to say that Ms. Ralph Lasky, our school director, has requested that we move this to the December next month commission meeting. So that would put this on first reading and second reading in December. She wanted some more time to look at some possible additional information that she may be coming with. And also the contractor that won the bid on the sewer line, the pump stations, they have agreed to expand their bid to the meeting date in December. So that's not in danger there. So I'd like to do that, please.
Without objection, roll next be on second reading on the next calendar. Mr. Street.
Well, I was just wanting to affirm, since Commissioner Stanley for first reading one time, that's not what we're doing here. This will be on second reading in December. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's all. And you clarified that.
That was it, too. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Item number 7. Commissioner Morrell, you're recognized once again. Is that? I'm sorry, Mr. Vance.
I know exactly.
I gave away your normally I've been in bed 30 minutes by now.
That's what I figured.
You're recognized anyway.
Well, first of all, before I get this resolution, I really appreciate whoever brought my cats back, and Mr. George brought me my hat, and I really appreciate that. So, with that being said,
we'll deal with her later.
Yeah, you gotta have a little bit of fun in here, but this, I brought this resolution during the work session, and basically what this resolution is, prior to the election of the new sheriff, the county had an agreement between the Sullivan County 911 and the past sheriff, Anderson, and so we're cleaning it up with the new sheriff and the new 911 director. Basically what happens is the Sullivan County 911 is refunding the sheriff's department for funds used for handling the 911 calls, which that is just revenue coming out of 911 over into the sheriff's department's budget to help cover the cost of dispatch. So this was brought up that we needed to get a new agreement established, and this is giving permission for all parties to be able to go into that interlocal agreement again, so.
First reading, Mark.
It doesn't matter to me. Dan, do we have a date on that it had to be done by?
I don't recall, I don't think so.
I don't see one in there.
Okay,
I
we'll just do
think it's signed by everybody, just waiting on the commissioner's approval, but nobody told me it was in a hurry.
Okay, that's fine. I just knew that the time on it was starting July 1st through June 30th, and we're past July 1st, so we really, the interlocal agreement's not in compliance at this time, so.
It's on my desk waiting signature, but Commissioner Broughton, you're recognized on item 7.
I'd like to ask Mr. Vance if I could join on that resolution.
Absolutely.
And I'd also like to go ahead and recommend, if he doesn't care, to go ahead and do away with the rules on it. I think most of us in here are for it.
That's fine.
Without objection, add Mr. Broughton as a prime co-sponsor. Mr. Vance moves for
Adoption.
For adoption by waiving the rule. Dan, did you? I thought I saw you up there. By waiving the rule for immediate introduction and adoption of item number 7, seconded by Mr. Broughton and others, John Gardner,
Ms. Colleton.
Pro Tem, Ms. Scott. Any further discussion? Do we have that one on the board too? It's on board. The board is open, please cast your votes. Need 16 votes for passage.
I've only done something.
Perfect, thank you. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Mr. Pro Tem? Anyone wish to change your vote? I had to get that in. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
I received the necessary majority. Item number 7 is adopted. Moving right along. Item number 8. I believe you're recognized now, Mr. Broughton, you saw recognition.
That's okay. I was just going to tell Mr. Vance, thanks for bringing that up. And then hopefully maybe we can have some serious discussions on Sullivan County 911 later on.
Thank you. Mr. Morrell, you're recognized on item number 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As everyone may know, or may not know, we do this type of resolution every so often on delinquent sales property, tax property. And so this resolution is to accept an offer from a individual on some county-owned delinquent tax property in a 12th Civil District at 1045 Sundale Lane, and it's more particularly described as tax map 29L, Group C, partial 85. And so there's been a bid received on this piece of property to the sum of $880 after the Delinquent Tax Committee, which the Budget Committee doubles as a Delinquent Tax Committee, has reviewed the location and condition and the value of the property. They are recommending that we accept this bid of $880 on this property and get it back on the tax roll so we can start getting some income off of it. And I would also probably just go ahead and put this on the waiver of rules so we can go ahead and get this done.
Mr. Morrell moves to suspend or to waive the rule for the immediate introduction and adoption of item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Carlton and Vance. Mr. Shell, you're recognized.
Randy, I know we've done this in the past, but I just can't remember. When we accept the bid of the individual, do they also pay the delinquent taxes?
No.
They don't?
No. And one other item, down at the very bottom of this resolution, this property, the structure is it's just all pieces. There's no value in it at all, really. And the prospective buyer agrees to bring the property into compliance within the Sullivan County Property Maintenance Code within 1 year after receiving the deed. So that's a very important thing too. Kind of gets the property cleaned up, or we're not revisiting it for the shape it's in.
Mr. Morrell renews his motion. Any further questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. When the board opens, cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Having received the necessary majority, item number 8 is adopted. Just a personal thing, and this is a kind of a complicated thing that the county deals with, and delinquent taxes and selling property, and I would encourage you all to, I have a resident expert. If you have a question on it, Angela handles most of these things for the county, and Attorney Paul Har is the delinquent tax attorney, so don't hesitate to contact him on the procedure, because your constituents will be interested in these things. And it's always benefits the county to get these sold and on the tax rolls when we have possession of them. So again, we'll be happy to answer any questions. Next up, item number 9, Commissioner Morrell, you're recognized on item number 9. You're on a roll.
Okay, yes, sir, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On item number 9, the first thing I probably need to do, I need to add Commissioner Dwight Kings to the co-sponsor on that. And also, you'll notice one of the co-sponsors is Herschel Blessing. Mr. Glover's wife.
He'll be surprised.
Yeah.
Herschel.
Yeah, his wife says that may be true, but we must change that to
Blessings are every day.
that's right. So we'll also make an amendment.
That's a matter of opinion.
Well, if anything was ever out of order, that would
Anyway, getting that formality out of the way, this resolution is to recognize the newly incorporated Houston Valley Rescue Squad to replace the South Houston Rescue Squad. Whereas Sullivan County provides funding for the operation of various rescue squads within the county, including the South Houston Rescue Squad, which has been funded for over 10 years. The South Houston Rescue Squad has discontinued their operation, leaving a medical response services to be handled by the EMA and Bluff City Rescue Squad on that. Whereas to provide the necessary emergency services to the community is provided in the past, the new rescue squad titled the Houston Valley Rescue has been chartered to fill it in where the South Houston Rescue Squad has discontinued service. Whereas the 2018-19 budget was funded at the normal rate for the South Houston Rescue Squad. Now therefore be it resolved, Sullivan County's funding provided for South Houston Rescue Squad shall be redirected to the Houston Valley Rescue Squad, and any existing assets provided by Sullivan County to the South Houston Rescue Squad shall be transferred to the Houston Valley Rescue Squad. I might add that this rescue squad, it covers all my District 1, which is a huge landmass area. It also covers much of the 4th Commission District and also the 5th Commission District. So this thing, they are actually, the Houston Valley Rescue Squad will be located in the Hickory Tree area at the Hickory Tree Volunteer Fire Department. They've agreed to provide a survey for our crash truck on that. So having said that, I would like to put this on waiver rules if I could, simply to go ahead and get this service started. We've already got some new directors that's agreed to serve as directors on the board, and we just need to do that to get the funding for our trucks and probably do some repairs to it and whatever house cleaning things we need to do at this time.
Mr. Morrell moves for immediate introduction and adoption of item number 9, seconded by Commissioners Vance, Glover, and Terry Harper. Commissioner Shaw, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Randy, this just came to us tonight.
Right.
Well, I don't have the budget in front of me, but you know, can you talk about the transfer of funds or?
Well, what, a little bit there, what I know of is there's actually 2 draws that some of you may be aware of that comes into these nonprofits. They get one in the spring and one in the winter. Due to South Houston Rescue Squad discontinuing their service, we did not send them, the county did not send them their second draw, so that actually went back to, I don't know if it's in an account somewhere or it's in a general fund, I don't know what it is, but at any rate, that would come to the Houston Valley Rescue Squad so they can get the needed, maintenance, everything on their truck and everything, call back up and do any house cleaning things they need to do. It's probably in the amount of, I would imagine, well, $28,000 or something like that. Larry,
That's the draw.
Okay.
Is Jerry Fleener still here? He was here earlier.
Yes, yes. If Jerry would like to come up, he's kind of gotten involved with this a little bit.
While Jerry comes
I'd
forward.
like to hear Jerry.
Sure.
While he comes forward, I will thank him for his involvement, and we'll recess for Jerry's testimony. And I remind you, sir, you're under oath.
Yes, sir.
You're recognized, Jerry.
The favorite phrase of the commission is no new money. It's not costing them any more to do this. As Ms. Morrell explained, the second portion of every agency is split in 2 draws, as he said. The second portion did not go to South Halston. That it was 26,000 something. So it's still in the account. This new aid, and Bluff City Rescue Squad has provided a vehicle where the calls would not have got answered. So they've done tremendous to help us with that. And the Emergency Management Office has staffed it. The intent of this is to take that 26,000 to get this organization up on its feet. The assets are there, as it was explained, the equipment and everything. When this organization was created, it was put in the bylaws that if it ever ceased, all assets would come back to the county. We've put this in this new organization in case it happens. It's just to protect the county. So all assets are there. We just need money to get an insurance policy. We can't move the trucks till we get insurance on them. We're going to have to update some of our supplies. There's going to be some expenses to get it, but this 26,000 will cover it. I feel very confident in that. Then it will it's a matter of, and Mr. Bailey may correct me, but it's really just changing the name in the budget docket for this current fiscal year, so it will be Holston Valley Rescue instead of South Holston Rescue. So the money allocated for the last part of last fiscal year is what we're talking as far as the startup that's in the budget. What's in the budget for this fiscal year will maintain that organization for this fiscal year, just like the money that's in the budget for all the other agencies.
Jerry, I presume you're familiar with the leadership of the new organization?
Yes, sir. One of them is the chief of the Hickory Fire Department, Roger Cox. Some of you in that area especially probably know him. Mike Sexton, who has a business out in the Holston Valley area. Sabrina Brown, who has a boat dock. She was the secretary-treasurer originally when we got the other one started, and she got out because of her work and everything. So they've agreed to come back, help establish, get this place back in operation. Is Mr. Morrell, and they're all important, all the life-saving crews, all the fire departments. But one thing about this agency, in the summer, you have almost another city out at the lake. You have 30,000 to 40,000 more people out there with all those campgrounds, lake activities, everything like that. So they're all important. But if it had not been for Bluff City providing a truck during this 4 to 5 months and the staff, there wouldn't be anything out there.
When do you think they'll be ready to provide financial statements to be filed with the county clerk?
We've already filed the charter. We're working on getting our tax exempt status right now. As soon as we get the check, we're going to open the checking account. We'll get everything in place. We'll see that financial statements are filed just like every other agency. There will be proper accounting procedures for this organization.
Randy, I have a lot of confidence in Mr. Fleener. I just think this is a little unusual that we're doing this on a waiver of rules. It just came to us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Commissioner Brown, you're recognized.
I was gonna ask that gentleman.
Jerry,
Yeah.
you just about made it. You just about made it. You should have gone that way.
Yeah. Is this the location that, like you go towards Holston Schools off on the left there, that little, like, garage?
That's where it was located, yes.
Okay, they've been talking about doing this for months, haven't they? Because I visited in the spring and they were talking about it then.
Well, that's where the other organization was, Holston, South Holston Rescue. They were in the building up on top of the hill. They went down to the hill, the building behind it. That's where they operated until, I believe, April is when they quit. So the gentleman that owns that building has been very tolerant and everything, because he's, you know, a lot of the issues that South Holston has created as far as obligations and bills and everything, including this gentleman's rent, you know, it's really between him and that organization, and there's a lot of local vendors, but we're hoping, we're going to approach a lot of these vendors, you know, especially the ones in the county. We want to make things right for them, even though it wasn't the county's fault. It's not the new organization's fault. But that's what some of these funds will go to also, to pay these people to get things back in line so they're not out. It's just something that we've got to do to get these things right. But that's one thing, the gentleman that owns that building has allowed us, in a sense, to leave the county property in that building till we've got a place to put it and start it back up.
But like I said, I went, I think in April, visited there and met with some of the guys, and they were telling me then, so it's just now making it to the commission, right? I mean, it's been planned for several months.
We've been working on this for several months.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Vance.
Well, and that's a good point, Mr. Brawley. It has been worked on for a long time. In Bluff City, that I'm on the board of directors, we stepped up at the time that there was a void there, and we put equipment out there. And we will have our new rescue truck being delivered 1st of January. And the truck that they're currently using out there, that truck has to be ready to be sent off, either to be sold or traded in. So we're going to be looking at needing that truck going to pull back to Bluff City by sometime in December. So that's one of the reasons this resolution needs to get approved, to help them get established to where at that point in time Bluff City can pull their truck back out.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. Mr. Raker.
My concern or my question is, and I hope not to go down a dark rabbit hole, but is it, I mean, you know, obviously something happened where the previous rescue squad is no longer there, now we have a new one. Is it the same people, or are they just changing names, or what's going on? I don't know who to direct that to.
But I had a sponsor, I believe, if you
Mr. Raker, it's a change name, it's also a change in individuals. Holding board and everything.
that answered your question. Thank you. Mr. King.
How many, people that's gonna be in this organization, how many is actually gonna be paid by the county? How many people is gonna be volunteers?
Well, I can't really tell you that. I don't know how many volunteers they really have. Jerry might know. You know, but also Mr. Bean might be able to tell you as far as the, you know, the EMAs, you know, they're paid just like they are all the other.
But they're not part of the rescue squad.
Sir?
They're not part of the rescue
No,
squad.
sir.
Right, right.
No, sir. Just.
Jerry.
To answer the question, the emergency management office provides the staff. It's one person per shift. It's 24/7 like a traditional firefighting shift. For Bluffville, Bluff City, and Holston Valley. There's one person staffing the first response truck 24/7. Just like in the lower end, they're doing it with employees that the county provides funds for first responders. So you're staffed one person per station 24/7, and have that person always there 24 hours a day. Bluff City has got some volunteers. They're trying to get their volunteer staff back up. Bluffville does not have any volunteers at this time, but and the volunteers, I think the organization will look at once they get back in operation. I know, speaking with some of the volunteers of the Hickory Fire Department and 421 Fire Department are interested in volunteering to run the calls with the EMA staff. whether they establish actually membership for volunteers, or if they just operate it pretty much like the other rescue squads operate right now. But as far as staffing, it's provided by the county, the emergency management office. They'll be, the board will be the ones managing the finances and managing the accounts and everything like that, but they'll be run by the emergency management staff, just like Bluff City and Walmart.
I believe you answered the question, I wasn't asking. I believe, if I'm right, he asked how many of the rescue squad people were paid, and the answer is none.
None of the volunteers.
Right, I understand
Yes,
that. I understand. I just wondered if we still want to have a full-time county person on 24/7 like it has always been.
They've been there now. It's just that Bluff City has allowed us, the county, to borrow one of their trucks, because the two for the former South Holston, one of them is inoperative. Neither one of them have got insurance right now, so we couldn't run them anyway. So that's one of the first things we want to do, is get insurance on the vehicles and the equipment, make sure they're in good shape, and start using them as soon as possible so Bluff City can have theirs back.
Okay, thank you, Dwight. Mr. Guerrero renews his motion. Thank you, Jerry.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Seconded by Commissioners Vance, Glover, and Harkleroad. Any other further questions? We're ready to vote. Item number 9 requires 16 votes for passage. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take a vote.
24 yes.
Having received the necessary majority, item number 9 is adopted. Next up, item number 10. Mr. Glover, you're recognized on item number 10.
If it works, and Glover if it don't, probably. But anyway, this resolution is brought forward today by the Highway Department, and what this is for. The state of Tennessee does these grants, and they send private contractors in to do this work. And it's going to be on Allison Road from Hall Ridge Road to State Route 34. And what they'll be doing, if you look on the second page, they'll be installing, they'll be installing guardrails, they'll be installing lines on the road, reflectors, snow plowable markers, thermoplastic whitening lines, guardrails, and other safety improvements. It's no cost to the county. It's not coming out of the Highway Department's budget. It's just a way for the state to show us that they want to make safety improvements to our roads in this area.
You heard the explanation. Mr. Glover moves for the first reading version.
Yeah, we'll do waive the rules on it.
You want to waive the rule on it?
That's it.
The other side. That's
The reason why the Highway Department would like to get the state to go ahead and get this underway, maybe get some of this work done if allowable weather conditions. Of course, that'll be in the next, hopefully the next little bit that they get in the area and get this done. Like I said, it'll be done by private contractors, so when they get them lined up, they'll move forward with it.
Mr. Glover moves immediate introduction and adoption, seconded by King and Crosswhite. Ask some questions, Mr. Crawford.
Yes, Herschel, how many miles are we looking at from Hall Ridge Road out to Bristol Highway?
I'd say six to 8 miles.
Pretty good piece, you know. Are there going to be any turn lanes, or is that road is there any need for turn lanes on it?
No need for turn lanes. I think most of it will be just the striping and the guardrails and reflectors.
Mr. King, you're recognized.
We did this several years ago on Pickens Bridge Road. We put the big signs on curves with the arrows going around the curve. We put a lot of reflectors on the some sharp curves and stuff. It's the same grant through the Department of Transportation. And if you go down Pickens Bridge Road, it really makes a big difference at night, especially if it's raining or something. And it's really helped visibility on that road, and this is the same stuff that they're gonna do. Mr. Crawford, you're talking about a turning lane. There is very much need of a turning lane at the end of Allison Road. It's turning out on 11E. There is very much need of a turning lane there on both sides. And that's something that we're gonna have to, at some point in time, we're gonna have to look at, because we've got a lot of development in that area. We've got one subdivision that there's already 31 houses underway. And in the mornings, as they're going to school, they line up a pretty good ways back. So we need a turning lane to turn them towards Johnson City, and coming from Piney Flats to turn them towards Bristol. So that's something we're going to have to look at.
If I may say, amen.
Both sides of the roads is gonna need that turn lane. If you look at Piney Flats Road too, you just can't turn left to go toward Johnson City, and you can't turn left to go toward Bristol, and it holds traffic up. Sometimes takes you 10, 15 minutes to get through there. And we have been in contact with our state representatives and hopefully get a traffic study done in that area in the next little bit. But it's very much needed.
Commissioner Jones, you're recognized.
I would like to see us take this all the way to Muddy Creek Road to Northeast State. If we can get that, if we can work on getting funding, because the highway got defeated, and that would have given that the new highway. But if we can get some funding, I mean, we got the same issues from the Hall Ridge Road intersection all the way back. Got two narrow bridges they have to cross as students. And, you know, that hopefully some of this gas money that's coming back in can be used for some of these improvements, and the county commission won't have to change the budget next year to take care of some of these things.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any further comment? Mr. Glover would like to introduce this on first reading and waive the rule for immediate introduction and adoption. Seconded, no further discussion. Ready to vote? Madam Clerk? Open vote. Has everyone voted? Mr. Gardner, could you help Ms. Stanley push her vote? Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Having received the necessary majority, item number 10 is adopted. That finishes up our resolution agenda, and it is customary at this time, which I regret sometimes, but it's customary, to ask if anyone else has any comments before we adjourn the meeting. And I do have an announcement about email. Commissioner Vance, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask us to go into recess. Dr. Mickey Spivey is back there. He wanted to address us during public comment, and he had a little bit of time getting up to the podium, I guess. I don't know. But at this time, I would like to ask us to go into recess and offer Dr. Spivey the opportunity to address the county commission, sir.
Certainly the service that Mr. Spivey has performed for this county over the years, certainly deserving of our attention. And Mr. Spivey, if you'll come forward, we will recess briefly for your remarks. And as you make your way forward, let me say that this county is better for the presence of Mickey Spivey for many, many years. Probably more than he wants me to acknowledge. But
It's been a while.
Mickey, you're recognized.
Well, good morning, Mayor. Glad to wake you up. No, I apologize. I really did not plan to officially address the committee or the commission here tonight. But it's a matter that is dear to my heart, and that many of you know I've been very passionate about for many, many years. And I think yesterday that we all saw in the paper an item that affects every lives of every person in this room, and not only this room, but our county, our cities, and also our region. And that basically is the new proposal by Ballot Health for trauma centers in our region. You know, many of us were somewhat surprised, although many of us also knew that this was probably coming, okay? This process for some time has been somewhat almost secretive. You know, there really hasn't been a great deal of public discussion, and the public has not been made aware, in my opinion anyway, of what is at risk. And I would just like to, if I may, share my opinion, having been involved with emergency medicine here for over 30-some years, okay? And also having been involved with the volunteer aspect and the other side of it from the emergency services side and helping to develop not only our emergency medical system here in the county, but also some of the trauma in our region. So if you will permit me, I would like to make just a few comments, okay? To me, I think it was a sad day yesterday when we learned that Ballard was going to basically name one level 1 trauma center in the region and sadly downgrade the other trauma centers in their region, okay? The people of our region really need our trauma centers. I think all of us realize the importance of these trauma centers. It's been well proven that these trauma centers save lives, they reduce mortality, they improve outcomes. That's only if these people are able to receive definitive care within 60 minutes of the injury. I think all of us have been heard of the golden hour of trauma. This is extremely important. Timely access to care is critical for these trauma centers to actually do what they need to do, okay? Rural trauma still accounts for almost 60% of all trauma deaths, okay? These trauma centers, well, in our area, access to timely care is very difficult to achieve, okay? I think all of us who have lived here for most of their lives realize that this geography, or topography, makes it difficult, even by ground transport, to get to from one place to another to these trauma centers. So if we start to eliminate some of these trauma centers, we start, in my opinion, to decrease access to care, okay? And we certainly decrease timely access of care. There's been a GIS study which basically shows that the zone of optimal survivability, that's that 60-minute time period. You look at the people that live within or without that period. That zone of optimal survivability significantly decreases if either one of those level 1 trauma centers should go away, okay? What that means is basically more people live outside of that zone and those people risk their lives, okay? I think that all of our trauma centers are extremely important in providing the people of Sullivan County the access to quality care that they need. But you know, I think that most of us would agree that when we are choosing a life-saving, time-sensitive service for the people of our region, that most of us would probably think that you would look at which center is best located, most capable of providing the highest quality of care to the most people in the region. It kind of makes sense to most of us, okay? I personally don't think that that decision was made for that reason, okay? I think that there was other reasons in deciding to do that. You know, I think the level 1 trauma center in Johnson City, in combination with the perinatal center in Johnson City, qualifies Johnson City Medical Center to be a safety net hospital for the state of Tennessee. For those of you who are not familiar with that, there's 6 safety net hospitals in the state of Tennessee. That qualification basically means millions of dollars in Medicaid funds from the state of Tennessee to Ballot Health, okay? It's obviously very important, and obviously Ballot probably cannot afford to take the risk of losing that level 1 trauma center. Some of that's pretty understandable, okay? But what happens then if you put a trauma center in an area that maybe doesn't best serve the whole region, okay? Don't you have an obligation to try to look at what it does to the remainder of your service area and to the lives that are affected in that? And but quite frankly, I believe most of that service area, the people's lives are affected. You know, I think you look at basically a small area from Johnson City, Washington County, Carter, and Unicoi that aren't affected. But the rest of the Ballot service area is significantly impacted by this decision. Why in the world, though, would you downgrade a level 1 or a level 2 trauma center to a level 3? To me, who have been involved with this for many, many years, I simply don't understand, okay?
You know, there are basically 3 levels of trauma center designation in the state of Tennessee. Number 1, the level 1 is the highest level that's out there, okay? It has the highest number of requirements. Level 2 is very similar to a level 1 requirements, but then there's a level 3. The level 3 basically is the lowest trauma center designation in the state of Tennessee. The level 1 and level 2s, by definition in the state, provide optimal care. The level 3 facility, and I quote from the state definition, says a facility providing maximum trauma care commensurate with community resources. The level 3 facility generally serves communities without all the resources usually associated with a level 1 or level 2 facility. A level 3 requires far less of the hospital and only minimal specialist availability, okay? Now, I started to try to go through some of these requirements then to basically list what it requires. But let me just try to make it very simple here. A level 1 trauma center in the state of Tennessee requires basically 28 different specialties to be involved and available 24/7. A level 2, which is Bristol Regional, okay, is very similar and can actually deliver, in my opinion, the same life-saving capabilities as a level 1. A level 2 facility has 24 requirements for specialties availability. Then we look at a level 3. A level 3 requires four specialty availabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a heck of a decrease to go from a level 1 or a level 2 facility to a level 3 here in the region. You know, I'm not sure. You know, I certainly have my opinions, but I believe that the folks who are making these decisions believe that by adopting a level 3 facility recommendation at Bristol and in Kingsport at Holston Valley, that they basically think because of these minimal requirements that they will no longer have the need nor the responsibility to provide physician on-call pay, nor to provide locum tenens coverage for specialists who are no longer or not available to cover the on-call roster. That means lots of money to that organization. It's costly to do that. But in my opinion, it's far more costly not to have this capability available. Okay? I think that the cost to the people and the lives in Sullivan County, Kingsport, Bristol, and all of the region will be affected because of this decision here. You know, successful trauma programs are very difficult to develop, but it's very easily to destroy. You know, I think that both over the last 30 years, the programs at Bristol Regional and Holston Valley have created wonderful and tremendous life-saving capabilities. Are those going to go to waste now? Okay. What do we expect to happen with those things? Okay. Let me kind of explain to you why this is so very, very important. The state of Tennessee has destination guidelines in effect. Destination guidelines are rules that require that certain patients with certain vital signs or with very specific injuries must be transported to a level 1 trauma center if that level 1 trauma center is within 30 minutes unless it is refused by the patient or overridden by medical control. So what that means is for people in Kingsport, if there is a car accident on Stone Drive right below Holston Valley Hospital, and that particular person in that accident has a blood pressure of less than 90, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a level 1 trauma patient, okay? That person is now going to have to be, by regulation, transported out of Kingsport to Johnson City, the level 1 hospital over there, okay? I personally do not think that that really is acceptable, okay? You know, I think all too often that we take things for granted. You know, we have been very blessed to have wonderful life-saving facilities in this area for the last 30 plus years. We've also been very blessed not to have had a major mass casualty incident or a disaster. But we should not really forget the Cherry Hill tornado in Kingsport, the Ryco tornado, the Eastman explosion, and very recently the near disaster in Tennessee Eastman. If these precious resources are allowed to dwindle and go away, then when that mass casualty incident or that major disaster does occur, we no longer will have those resources capable and will not be able to handle those. You know, I personally do not believe that reducing the level 1 trauma center in Holston Valley or the level 2 hospital in Bristol is justified. I believe that the far better alternative is to basically to maintain the level 2 hospital in Bristol as a level 2, and also to try to maintain the level, which Holston Valley, since it will no longer be a level 1, at least a level 2. As we said before, the difference between a level 1 and a level 2 is very minimal and able to provide very similar capabilities in the saving of lives. I think that we could then petition the state of Tennessee basically to allow an exception for Northeast Tennessee, an exception that would allow level 2 facilities in Northeast Tennessee to accept level 1 patients. It should be acceptable because all of these trauma centers are now owned by the same hospital, and I believe that we could be successful in doing that. You know, what that would actually do is it would basically provide a solution that would save lives. It would preserve our valuable regional resources. It would prevent economic fallout in the affected cities. It would maintain the safety net hospital status in Johnson City. It would meet COPA requirements. And most importantly, it would prevent dangerous and unnecessary patient travel in most of our area. Certainly important to all of us. You know, I basically appreciate all of you guys' involvement. I know the Board of Mayor and Alderman in the City of Kingsport had a meeting and with the folks from Ballot Health, you know, and so I think that it's important that the folks that are representing the people in our communities have some voice and at least be given the opportunity to express an opinion. I think your public has the right to be able to hear some of these discussions and to get involved and at least make some suggestions and stuff.
Dr. Fabio, I guess as a matter of form, I've got to say you've gone over your
Oh, I
limit
sure
a
have.
little bit.
I sure have.
But I don't cut anybody off.
I apologize.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to be consistent.
The only thing that I was going to add to this is that I believe that this suggestion for a potential solution is not anything that you guys can vote on. I understand that, okay? But in my opinion, when you're dealing with lives, it's probably better to be a little bit slower, a little bit more conservative, get adopted something like this, and if it doesn't work down the road, this can be revisited. If it's not successful for a ballot, it can be revisited. But on the other hand, if we go with the current plan that's been offered by ballot, and it proves unsafe to the patients in their area, it will be extremely hard to go back from a level 3 to a level 2. So I guess that I would just like to say that I believe that the people in their region basically deserve to have the very best chance of survival if they're faced with a major traumatic event. I think for the last 30 years they have had that, and I don't think that they deserve any less today. So I appreciate you listening to me. I would make myself available to answer any questions that anybody might have if they would like afterwards, and I thank you for allowing me to address the committee.
Dr. Spivey, thanks so much for coming, and for those of you that don't know, Dr. Spivey, for well over 30 years, been the medical director for some County EMS, and that was around when it started. So I just want to tell you how much we appreciate your service in the past, and I'm glad to see you continuing.
Well, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to also iterate something. When I saw that came out, and most of y'all know, I was involved in EMS well before the trauma services were even designated. I actually remember the day that Joe Phillips from Nashville came up and actually done the review for the trauma services at Holston Valley. And I can honestly sit here and tell you that I remember people that I picked up in ambulance and accidents in Kingsport prior to the trauma destination that I know that died that probably would have survived if trauma services were in place. I think that the public health of our citizens of this county, by allowing this to take place, is going to be a major impact in lives in our county. The paramedics, I've had phone calls over yesterday and today concerned because they are bound by the guidelines that he was referring to as trauma destination guidelines. The paramedics are going to be faced making decisions trying to get patients transported 25 to 30 miles away to a trauma center in Johnson City. The other burden is that they've got the golden hour. They're going to have to try to use helicopter services to fly patients to Johnson City. And one of the impacts it's going to have on the family, if you have a teenager gets have a wreck on Fort Henry Drive and they meet that destination guidelines and they lay a helicopter down, many times I saw parents running into the ER knowing that their child had been involved in an accident. And I hate to think that the citizens of this county is going to have to drive 25, 30 miles after they get notified that their child had been in an accident, trying to get there to see what the situation is. The other thing is, we have seen over the years, we have seen diversion is a terrible name that we hear, diversion. Diversion means that the hospital is at capacity, and that means that we need to find another source for those services for our patients. Many times it's happened, and when I read that article about 380 patients last year saw in trauma, there's actually times that Holston Valley can have an accident and have 3 or 4 patients that are on the table with the surgeon in the ER, and the staff is trying to get them prepared to get them to the OR and so forth, and they'll go on diversion, and that means we have to back up and look to go to our level 2 at Bristol or fly them to Johnson City. So when they do away with the level 1 in Sullivan County and the level 2, the question is, can Johnson City Med Center handle what they think they're going to be able to handle without them being on diversion? Because when it goes on diversion, we're done, okay? And this has been seen in Nashville and Memphis and the greater cities where the hospital's gone on diversion. So I know it's not this county commission's position. Ballard Health is already, but I think this county commission could make a voice vote when we go back in session that we oppose Ballard Health's decision to take away our level 1 trauma centers. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I have personally seen people's lives saved in the emergency room at Holston Valley and at Bristol. And like I told Dr. Spivey back there, that's dear and near to me, that's dear and near to him. We've been there before we've had it. We've seen what we came through, and now we're going back 30-some years the way we were. That's wrong, guys. So we need to take a position.
I'm trying to stay consistent, Commissioner. County Attorney Street, I usually recognize you or Mr. Bailey. You asked.
I just want to make some comments. I probably don't deserve any priority here because I just want to make some comments.
I'll turn you off, but go ahead.
Well, you know, let me say first off, I can tell by the passion in Dr. Spivey's address that he feels pretty serious about what he's saying, and so that raises a flag with me because he has worked in the ER in Sullivan County and been involved with Sullivan County EMS for a career, not just a few years. That's been his career. So I take what he says very serious. But you know, I want to get to my legal opinion, but I got to sort of preface it with a couple of thoughts. You know, I mean, when we first started rushing to the exits for this valid merger, I personally knew that there was going to be a lot of trouble that come with that merger. And you know, Holston Valley is no longer Holston Valley. It can't stand up for itself. It's now part of Valley. It cannot stand up for itself. If it does, it'll be told by the leadership in Johnson City Medical Center that it needs to stay quiet. And that's our hospital. We're talking about Sullivan County, Bristol, and Kingsport. My daughter's a pediatrician. Yesterday, they also announced that it's a small neonatal center, but it's being closed too. And they spent a lot of money and time and effort to develop these level 1 trauma centers and these neonatal centers, and they're being closed. They're centralizing all this stuff over here at Johnson City Medical Center. We can do something about that. The trade-off for this huge monopoly is that basically Ballard is a public utility. That's the way they set it up. we can, as a county, object. We can be heard. It was set up as a governmental entity with regulations. So there are ways for us to speak up. And we probably ought to be looking at speaking up now rather than later, because as Dr. Spivey said, it's a lot harder to go from a 3 to a 1 than it is to go from a 1 to a 3. Once we let this happen, it may not be possible to get back. And I guess it sort of irritates me because I saw all this coming myself, but it just seemed like the leadership couldn't wait to get this merger done. And as you can see, there's a lot of changes going on. And me personally, as county attorney, I think that Sullivan County, should it choose to get involved, can get involved in this. I mean, you know, the president or chairman Levine said there's no difference. I read the article this morning. Said there's no difference between a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3 trauma center. It's in the paper. That's what he said. You just heard. That's just, well, I don't know whether it's true or not, but you know, why would they call them a level 1, level 2, and level 3 if there's no difference between them? Anyway, enough said. I think the county commission, the way they approved this was by legislation. The way they approved this merger was by legislation. They set it up as a public utility. You can be heard. It's set up to where the people in this monopoly can be heard. And so Mark Wentz's request that you pass a resolution, I think it can be carried and presented, and I think you can have power, and we probably need to determine what that power is early and on the front end rather than later on down the road. That's my bit.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. Commissioner Crawford.
I was going to probably switch gears, but I don't know now. Certainly Dr. Spivey has brought a new issue to us here, but if it be the mayor's goodwill, I would divert my comments until the end. Okay. If you want to discuss this a little bit more.
Be happy to do that. I'll recognize you again. Commissioner Broughton.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, there's been a lot of talk about this ballot situation. It's upset a lot of folks, and one thing I keep hearing over and over and over and over is, you know, well, we feel like we didn't have any input. We feel like it was a backdoor deal. You know, I've heard that over and over and over, no transparency. Well, we need to apply that at home too. We can't just apply it everywhere else. You know, when people come in here and have budgets, they tell us they need X amount of dollars, we expect those dollars to go to what they're supposed to go to. You know, I'm not going to get into particulars here. I've done a lot of homework for this meeting that turns out it's going to be put off, but a lot of numbers simply don't add up. You know, and some, well, I don't know what to believe. Well, if somebody's calling you up or whispering in your ear, it's probably not something to believe. You know, what you need to believe is numbers don't lie. When you add them up, they'll tell you the same thing every time. Like I say, we do budgets annually for a reason. That money is to be spent that calendar year. If there's an excess in something that was budgeted for, it's not being delivered. And that's an important fact we need to keep in consideration.
Thank you. Commissioner Long.
I just want to have a comment here, statement. I've provided patient care here in Sullivan County for over 10 years. Been state licensed in Tennessee since '07. Been a public safety servant more than half my life here in Sullivan County, whether it be volunteer, paid, and pre-hospital care. With that being said, it's a disgrace that Ballard Health didn't reach out to us or the Body County Commission to let us be aware of the choice made or determined within the third-party outside study performed regarding the level 1 trauma designation. Little history on Holston Valley. It was designated level 1 trauma in 1988. Johnson City Med Center was designated level 1 2 years after that. They just had their 30-year reunion, or whatever you want to call it, this year. Also, I think it's unacceptable that Johnson City was chosen to be level 1 when we were the first level 1 trauma facility in Northeast Tennessee. If we needed it back then in '88, we still need it today. Fair believer of that. I've been knee-deep in the middle of calls, scenes out here, and we just had a level 1 trauma last week at Fort Henry Drive. Inclement weather. So with that being said, Would a helicopter aeromedical flown that day? No. We would have to take the patient by ground to JCMC. It's going to cost the county, it's going to cost the county lives, and it's also going to cost taxpayers money, years to come. Thank you.
We are in recess at the request of Commissioner Vance. Commissioner Stidham, you wish?
Well, Dan says, Commissioner Vance has already jumped on as the sponsor of that. Could you put me on as a co-sponsor for that resolution?
We don't have one yet.
Put all 24 on.
Okay, I'm gonna let the board settle down here a bit and see who really wants to stop. Ms. Starnes, you're ready.
I was gonna, ask the same thing as Commissioner Stidham, if I could be a co-sponsor.
Very good. Commissioner, County Attorney Street.
I don't have a resolution. I'm not really sure what the resolution is going to say. I think anybody and everybody that wants to be a sponsor, that's not really, but I guess I would ask Commissioner Vance what he wants the resolution to say. I know what I think it should say. I think I know what the county commission should do. They should start paying attention to what's going on and get involved in this. I'm afraid that we may wake up too late and lose a lot of medical facilities that we've worked hard to accumulate over 100 years.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I know we have after these three people speak, it appears we're going to have a resolution. And we're going to, it's important we do it right, so we're going to recess. We're going to continue the recess for the resolution to be prepared after these three people speak. And then we'll come back into session and consider it. Commissioner Vance.
Well, in reference to the resolution, and I think in all honor and respect to Dr. Spivey, I think it would be good to have him to help prepare the language in the resolution, because I know that he has the best interest of the people of this county as long as this county commission. Whatever he thinks that this commission needs to take a position on, I think we need to respect his opinion, and that will be the resolution and how we address that. So, I guess, Mr. Street, to answer your question, I'm willing to help, along with Dr. Spivey, to help form the resolution to be brought in front of the county commissioner. Are you agreeable with that, Mr. Spivey?
You can use, when we leave our seats, you can use anything that's available to you.
Okay, thank you.
And we need to get to it, Angie.
Thank you. I was wondering, why does, like Ballad Health, they have met with other government entities but has never addressed nothing with Sullivan County? I mean, I've never heard them ever ask to even speak to us. I mean, have they met with like you? Because I mean, I know that they.
I did not receive a request to meet with the Sullivan County Commission, but I believe I'll ask Colette. That was at your request of Kingsport Board Mayor and Alderman that you met with Val, or did they call you?
There was a request made by someone at Valley that I met.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
I'm sorry. I said there was a request by an employee of Ballard that I meet with them just to give us, or to give me the information before the press conference. There was no meeting, discussion. I mean, there was a presentation that I sat and heard.
As a body, though,
it was not as, I mean, it was not through the.
Not putting me on the spot.
No, my request did not come through the VMA. My request came through an individual at Ballard.
Full disclosure.
I mean, that's.
I received it, thank you. I received a call at about 8:15 Wednesday morning. 8:15 Wednesday morning from their government relations person. We finally got together 10 minutes to 12, and he shared with me, I think, what he shared with you, at 10 minutes before the press conference. They attempted to contact me.
I think they said it was. I got a call from a person, and I was told ahead of time that this announcement was going to be made.
That's a notification.
But I mean, it said it was not through the BMA. They did not call the VMA to address us. I received a call from someone I know that requested to present the information, and I had, are you through talking? Because I was gonna say.
Yeah, you had something that you wanted to say, is
But
that
I don't wanna,
the answer to one?
if Angie's not through, because I wanted to actually.
Right, that's what, I was leaving her mic open.
I'm done.
You done? You're recognized.
And my first question, well, you know, I think when the ballot, initially all this came up, and the public was asked for input, and I think a lot of us felt one way or the other. I think most people knew where my decision on this whole thing was, because said in my opinion, at the initial time, I did not think this was in the best interest for the residents that I represented. There was a lot of opportunity for people to speak out. There was a lot of people that jumped on the bandwagon, one of which, you know, was Eastman. There was a lot of people that were asked. A lot of this went before Virginia, it went before Tennessee. Tons of times for public comment. I think a lot of people did speak both ways. This took 3 years to go through. There was a lot of talk both ways the whole time, whether it would or whether it not. I think anybody that has looked at the numbers from day one on knew that Kingsport had 2 hospitals, Bristol had 1, and Johnson City had 1. You make a merger like this for cuts, who was going to suffer? I mean, if any of us did not see this coming, shame on us. I mean, I think we're all smart enough to know from day one with this merger that it was about the med center and it was about Mountain State, and with the way things were going, this would be the outcome we would be presented. I mean, that we all have known for 3 years. I mean, anybody that did the research, when you all looked at these numbers, did any of you truly think that we were going to keep 2 level 1s in this radius when you have areas like Nashville that have 1, Dallas that has 1, Atlanta with millions and millions of population that have 1, but we were so special we were going to get to keep 2. I mean, we've all known this was coming. Now, when you come to resolutions, I mean, to me, ballot is a corporation. I mean, I don't know if it, you know, Eastman's a corporation. Are we going to go to Eastman if they decide to move their headquarters to Atlanta and have a resolution saying we think this is terrible and going to hurt us? I mean, we could, but realistically, I mean, I do think we all should speak about this. I do think it's something that we need to educate ourselves with. I think we all need to review the numbers. I think we all need to talk to the people at ballot to see what we can do for the people in Sullivan County to have the best health care. But I don't think a resolution, when we've had one side present, is necessarily the most effective way to work this. We've had 3 years or 4 years to stand up for Sullivan County. How many of you all went up and talked to at state level? I mean, where were we the last 4 years? Some of you did. You know, to me, you know, I said, this is, I mean, I'm obviously not happy about this. This is not what I want. But we've come to this point. I mean, this decision is not going to change. We can sit here and say we think it's terrible. But, you know, there's dollars and cents and cost, and we all need to, I mean, you all know the numbers. You've seen what's going on. You know what the requirements are and the cuts. I mean, I don't think that a resolution at this point, I think we just look like we didn't do our job for the last 3 years, and now we're going to stand up and wave a flag that this is terrible. I think we need to, if we truly believe this, we need to go to Nashville, we need to talk to our legislators, we need to individually stand up and say it. But again, we've had 3.5 years. At this point, this merger has happened. You know, you can't undo, and they're not going to fund 2 level 1s. There's money and reasons which you know and said. They can present the case to the state that they already have.
Thank you. And Mark, I'm going to cut you off here a minute because I think people want to move on this. Let me, as chairman, try to outline where we are. We're not. I haven't heard a discussion as to whether we support or oppose the merger of Mountain States Health Alliance, Holston Valley, Bristol, and the other 14 hospitals. I haven't heard that discussed. So the resolution is yet to be written, and the discussion has been on what we feel about closing trauma centers in Sullivan County. Not whether we support the merger. It's over, that's done. It's not gonna be undone, I don't think. But I don't think it's inappropriate for this body, and I didn't expect to have this discussion. I don't think it's inappropriate for this body to voice an opinion on this. So right now, we're gonna take 15 minutes to give whoever wants to work on a resolution for this body to consider tonight. Let's take 15 minutes to do that. It's getting a little bit late, but this is worth the effort. 15 minutes. Be back at 9:30.
Thanks, Alicia. Now, maybe we'll get all that.
Several minutes ago. Like 2 hours ago. Oh, now. Okay, let's see, your mind's been working. He looks very festive. Now I'm awake.
found such a good picture.
Oh, it is beautiful. It looks like a... Well, they said that Jim had already got it for Christmas. This is gonna be our getaway. You know where our getaway is gonna be. You gotta go. I'm not telling you how, but I get it. I got the phone first. That's how I got this hat. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You realize this one? Did you see where Jim's gonna take it? I hope so. It's original, it's from today, and this thought right now. Oh, I love this. No better. I would love it. How about your next one?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This is a long one.
I don't.
There's three resolutions. One is kind of broader, kind of overall, but they're still different.
Everybody appears to be in their seat, but anybody that's not in their seat, come in. Thanks to our very able county attorney, you have three resolutions before you, number 11, 12, and 13. 11 is, I'm going to read the resolution. 2. 11 is express opposition to downgrade of Holston Valley and Bristol Regional Center to level 3 trauma centers. Number 12 is to express concern about closure of NICU at Holston Valley. And number 13, to express concern about decision downgrading care at medical facilities in Sullivan County. So if you want to number those for your record, we're back in session. And Commissioners Mark Batts and Hunter Locke are sponsors of the number 11. I'm going to recognize Ms. George prior to the start.
I would just like to say that I would like to defer this until we can ask Alan Levine from Ballard to come in and speak to us on these issues, give us all their reasons for making this decision so that we actually can understand where they were coming from and ask them specific questions. Once we pass this resolution, there's no reason for them to come and explain the numbers and the information to us. And I would like to request that he come and present to this board and let this board ask specific questions and get that information. And once both sides have been heard, at that point make a resolution. I just feel that if we make a resolution without asking them to come here and give us their information, that we're starting off on a wrong foot, and there's going to be a lot of decisions made by ballot. And I would like to have a good working relationship as Sullivan County, and I would like to be on their good side so that a lot of, decisions that are made, they would feel that we are involved in and do make a difference, and would like to just ask that I know we're working on a motion, I know we all feel strong on this, but I would really ask that we either do a called meeting or we wait till next meeting and have them come and present to us and let us all think about all this information before we take a stand that may have consequences on down the line.
I appreciate that, and I didn't realize you were going to speak on the resolutions because we don't have one on the floor. But I will recognize you as soon as we have one on, and you just move to defer, okay? Commissioner Locke, you're recognized on item number 11.
I'll go ahead and present it, Mayor.
Yes, sir, and it's seconded by Commissioner Stidham.
To express opposition to downgrade Holston Valley and Bristol Regional Hospital Level 3 Trauma Centers, now therefore be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners of Sullivan County, Tennessee assembles regular session hereby authorize County Mayor to notify Ballard Health and any and all oversight committees and boards of Ballard Health for the state of Tennessee and the state of Virginia that Sullivan County opposes downgrade Holston Valley Trauma Center from level 1 to a level 3 and Bristol Regional from a level 2 to a level 3. Furthermore, that Sullivan County opposes the closure of any trauma center in Sullivan County.
You've heard the explanation, properly second. Commissioner Vance on the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to the deferral, I can't support the deferral.
We don't have a motion yet, Mark, but we care to let her make the motion?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Commissioner George, you're recognized.
I'd like to make a motion that we defer these until at least for 1 month to give Ballard the opportunity to present information to us that may not change our mind, but at least we will have information and have them here to be able to ask questions in front of this board so that we would be part of the decision-making process.
Ms. George moves to defer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wood second? Commissioner Jones, you second also? Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor and voting in favor will be to defer item number 11. Voting no will be to hear item number 11 tonight. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no.
No.
Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask you to call the roll. I didn't get a good feel. Somebody hollered really loud. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll on the motion to defer? I've got too many on that. Okay.
Akers,
To look on the motion to defer, and if you vote for the motion, if you vote yes, and it wins, we will defer it, and then we'll move on to the next. If you vote no, that means we'll hear the motion now.
Blaylock, no.
I can't turn on these microphones, so y'all gonna have to holler loud.
This is on the motion to defer. It's not on the resolution itself.
It's just on the defer.
Right.
Okay, yes.
Broughton,
No.
Calton, Cole,
No.
Crawford,
No.
Cross,
No.
Crosswhite,
No.
Gardner,
No.
George,
Yes.
Glover,
Yes.
Parker Road,
Yes.
Hutton,
No.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Leonard,
No.
Locke,
No.
Morrell,
Yes.
Shull,
No.
Stanley,
No.
Starnes,
No.
Stidham,
No.
Vance,
No.
Woods.
Yes.
Nine yes, 14 no, one absent.
Motion fails. We're back on item number 11. Commissioner Vance, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I respect what has been said about the 3-year period. I have a concern, the reason I support the resolution is I have a concern about is Sullivan County government was ever offered to be at the table to discuss anything involving the process of the merger that formed Ballad Health. Many of us sitting in here knew it was taking place, and that is correct. Many of us didn't know how this would actually turn out. We knew it would be a cost savings issue. This isn't about trying to tell Ballard Health that their decision is wrong. This is about the care and the welfare of the citizens of this county. And I think when you have one of the doctors like Dr. Spivey and the people that deal with this every day that comes to the commissioners and call us and tell us, you know, we know this is going to be a problem if this happens. So the people that deal with this on a day-to-day basis, they were never brought in to any of the negotiations of the consolidation into Ballard Health. And talking to healthcare providers, they are the front line. They know what it takes to save a life. They know what services is needed. And the people that sit on that committee, and I know several of them, they're business people. And it's become to be a business decision. Whether we should have been at the table for the last 3 years, whether we ignored our responsibility as a county commission, is that we trusted the people that was on there to form the Ballard Health system. We figured, in my opinion, they had the best interest of the citizens and the taxpayers of this county. So I think we need to send a message to Ballard Health, because I know the state attorney general in Nashville hasn't been notified about this in opposition, and there is a big outcry. So if we can send a message that we do not support the opposition, or we oppose downgrading the trauma center, maybe it will allow Ballard Health to rethink their decision before it's too late. And future decisions they make, somewheres this county and the healthcare providers need to be involved in helping them to ensure the board that their decisions will not cost lives in this county. Because as a business person, I understand exactly what they're trying to do. They can't fund 3 trauma centers. They can't fund 3 cardiac centers. They can't fund 3 oncology centers, 3 birthing centers, and I understand that. There's a difference about some of those oncology and even cardiac that a person has a little bit of time to be able to make it to a place at Johnson City Medicine or somewhere else. But in a trauma situation, we do not have that time. And so it will have a big impact on the lives of this county. So I want to send this message to Ballard Health. We do not support their last decision. And if Mr. Levine would like to come in front of this county commission and he would like to explain his decision, I'll welcome him. But it don't need to be about the almighty dollar, because you can't put a dollar on a person's life. So I'm going to ask to call the question, sir.
And I'm going to ask you not to. We've got people who want to speak, Mark.
Okay.
You agree?
Yes, sir.
This is, well, anyway, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor. I think under ordinary circumstances, Colette George's motion to defer would make a lot of sense, but I think that the will of the commission is to make an immediate statement on this because it's that critically important. And so I just wanted to state the obvious from a Kingsport point of view, that if you're going to only have one level 1 trauma center because of downsizing, cost saving, and all that, it seems to me it would make sense to have it in Kingsport because we have the prime industrial center, Olson Army Ammunition Plant, Domtar paper plant, and the Eastman Chemical. Seems to me that has a higher concern for mass casualties and so forth, as mentioned by Dr. Spivey. Thank you.
Commissioner Locke.
Talking about the deferring on this resolution, I think Ballard's had plenty of opportunity to reach out to us, try to be transparent with Sullivan County Board of Commissioners. Furthermore, it's been talked about 9 months on social media, night and day. I did a post on this level 1 trauma and had over 400 and some shares. I didn't reach out to each and every one of us then. They didn't reach out the last 24 hours. They've had plenty of multiple public presentations over the last 24 hours on this, and not one time did they invite any of us. And I think that says it enough right there. We'll go ahead and take a vote.
Mr. King.
Well, I've been involved in this probably 36 years because I've got a wife who has worked for the medical center at different positions in management, on floors, in the nursery, teaching women's health, and she's still with them. And I've heard all this going on for the last 10 years. What's going to happen to Wellmont, what's going to happen to Mountain States. And our legislators from Sullivan County went to Nashville and was there when all these talks and all this information was being brought back and forth. I talked to several of them while all this was happening because she was interested in it and I was interested in it, and I talked to them. And I knew 6, 7 years ago that there was going to be a merger go through, or there was somebody going to buy one or both of them out. And that's the two options we had. Either get bought out or merge. So they went with the merger, and that's what we've got. Did Sullivan County reach out to them? Did they ask them to come to speak to us? And I don't think that ever happened. But there's two sides to every story, and I haven't heard the other story from Ballard. If they want to come and speak to us and explain why they done it and what the reasons was, I think we need to at least give them that. But when we do this resolution, we're shutting the door on that because we're choosing a side. And I think we need to ask him to come and talk to us before we do this vote, before we do the resolution, and then after they talk to us, then do the resolution and vote on it. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner Locke.
On behalf of the merger, we're not talking right now about the merger. We're talking about the designee level 1 trauma facility in the region here. The merger's over and done with. We've got it. This resolution is strictly on level 1. So let's keep that in mind.
Commissioner Akers, you're recognized.
Sorry. We've got what looks to be 3 resolutions, if I'm correct, 11, 12, and 13 in front of us that were all done.
Correct.
I believe that since Ms. Spell is still back there, that there's no doubt that it's going to be written in the paper that we are against this downgrading situation. I also believe, I think it is unfair that we haven't spoken to anyone at Ballard, and I don't think we all need to have 24 individual meetings. We need to have a comprehensive meeting, and none of these resolutions says asking Ballard to come and discuss things and having it play out in the papers. It seems a little frivolous to me. My other thing is, can we wrap them all up into one, or are we going to take 3 individual votes?
3 individual votes.
All right.
Commissioner Locke, you're recognized.
I say we end discussion, take a vote.
Ms. Starr disagrees with you. This is so important. I'm not going to cut off anybody, and if you force me to, I'll take a vote on calling the question. But let's give our fellow commissioners a chance to talk.
I second Commissioner Locke on that, but I want to ask to be put as a co-sponsor as well. If that's okay.
Item number 11. Commissioner Glover, you're recognized.
Hunter, I respect your decision on this, and I feel your passion because you're out there and you're seeing this every day. And Mark also. When you deal with the type of trauma that you guys have seen with death and so forth. But Mark hit on a key note there a minute ago when he said that by them cutting services, it would jeopardize a lot of our lives and a lot of our families. If we make these people mad, and don't get me wrong, I support this resolution, but don't get me wrong, I think we need to invite them to come to the table and talk to us because they've already made cuts. And excuse my language, if we piss them off, they're going to make more cuts. And when you make more cuts, that endangers more lives. So why don't we invite them to the table?
Hunter, you're recognized.
With that being said, the damage has already been done. We are here tonight to try to prevent the level 1 designee to Johnson City Med Center before it takes place within, it might be 6 months, it might be 12 months. But we need to go ahead and vote on this to let them know we're standing up for our people who put us here as constitutional office holders here before it's done too late. We don't need to be talking about this 2 months from now. It's already in the paper. They let the employees of Ballard know the day before, or actually no, the same day it was put in the paper. So what do you think they care about us? If you want to get it down dirty with it. They don't.
We're beginning to repeat ourselves. Commissioner Grant, you called a question. You heard the motion for the question. Second. Second, Commissioner Broughton. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. We're on the question. We don't have this on the board. We don't have it on. We're not able to react that fast. So I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on item number 11. A yes vote is to approve item number 11. A no vote is to kill number 11. Madam Clerk.
Anchor. Blaylock. Broughton.
Yes.
Calton's absent. Cole.
Yeah.
Crawford.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Crosswhite.
Yes.
Gardner.
Yes.
George. Glover.
Yes.
Parker Road.
Yes.
Hutton.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
King.
No.
Leonard.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Starnes.
Yes.
Stidham.
Yes.
Vance.
Yes.
Woods. Woods.
No.
Yes, 3 no, 1 absent.
Okay, thank you. Having received the necessary majority, item number 11 is introduced, and the rule is waived, and therefore passes. And I'm correcting an error that I made by not saying that we had a request to waive the rule for immediate introduction and adoption, but having received 20 votes, that should clear that up. Item number 12, Commissioner Vance or Commissioner Locke.
This resolution here was something that we discussed in preparation of the resolution involving the trauma center. Expressed concerns about the closure of the NIC unit at Holston Valley, which stands for Neonatal Intensive Care. And whereas Ballard Health has announced that the NICU at Holston Valley will be closed. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Sullivan County assembled in regular session hereby authorize the county mayor to notify Ballard Health and any and all oversight committees and boards of Ballard Health of the state of Tennessee, and the state of Virginia. The Sullivan County is very concerned about the closure of Holston Valley NIC. I'd like to call for I put the resolution for a vote, sir.
Commissioner Vance moves to waive the rule for the immediate introduction and adoption of item number 12, seconded by Commissioner Locke and Commissioner Stidham. We have people that would like to speak on this motion, or Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. On this one, speaking as a parent, I can't rationalize not supporting. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor, please.
Without objection. Commissioner Shaw.
Mayor, I'm not quite clear on this. I know what a neonatal ICU is, but have they announced publicly that they were going to close the one in Kingsport?
Yes, sir.
And what was the rationale?
I think they were going to move it to Bristol. Or was it Johnson City?
Actually,
The nice one there, yeah.
it is a trauma, it is a pediatric trauma center, correct?
It's simply cost-saving move? Is that what it is?
Well, I don't think so. What happens is that it's a high-risk pregnancy,
Right.
then they're sent to Holston Valley so that the baby upon delivery can have the urgent care to do it. So if you're out transporting a patient and the patient stays 35 weeks pregnant and she's in birth, and you have a premature delivery, they take care of the preemies.
You don't know how the chamber has ribbon cuttings and things. I was there at this opening of this. This is only about 2 years old, ain't it?
That's right.
Something like that.
I mean, they remodeled the whole floor.
Right, exactly.
I mean, my granddaughter Emma was born there because she was high risk. And so everybody in Sullivan County now will have to be taken to Johnson City to nice monitor for all of our high-risk babies. And so that's going to also cause a problem when you go in and you're out in an ambulance and you're delivering a baby and the baby's premature or prolapse or limb presentation.
And one of the drivers, as I understand, is a lot of these babies were the moms were opioid addicted, so that was making
Sometimes they are, sir.
the immediate care that much critical.
Yes, sir.
Critical.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And then you've got weather issues like when it snows, then you've got a long travel for these neonatal patients to transport them to Johnson City.
Commissioner Morrell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to make two quick statements. You know, to me, if whoever's voting in favor of this, they should be listed as a co-sponsor on all three of them.
Without objection.
Without objection, yes, sir. And the other thing, I tell you what, you know, you can't, you look at this and you know, it touches everybody. Yeah, I think it's touched Mark about the neonatal center in Kingsport, but I can tell you as a grandparent that if it wasn't for the neonatal center there in Kingsport, my oldest grandson would not be alive right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Morrell. Commissioner Stanley.
Oh, I was just gonna be added for a co-sponsor, I forgot to push my button. And can I just make a statement too?
You pushed your button.
I did quite a few physicians here that delivers the babies, and they are in huge concern of having to move to Johnson City due to the high-risk babies. And we have some specialty doctors here that does just the high risk. I think that is another thing, not only the babies and the parents and stuff involved, but we're looking at some jobs too, because you have to live within a certain mileage of when you have to go in and deliver these babies and stuff. So that right there was another concern of mine.
Thank you. Commissioner
NICU, I do see that Valley Health also noted Nicewunger Children's Hospital in Johnson City, in partnership with Johnson City Medical Center, will offer new pediatric trauma services to improve outcomes for children with injuries, in addition to new pediatric subspecial services. All of Ballard's, where is this? Ballard also established new Nicewunger Children's Hospital pediatric emergency rooms in Kingsport and Bristol, making pediatric emergency practitioners available to child-friendly settings and for the more than 20,000 annual pediatric visits, ER visits in those two communities. All through this article, I never saw that they were closing the NICUs at Holston Valley. If that was in the article somewhere, it's not. If they said that, it wasn't put in the paper. It said, it said, well, I'm telling you what it says in the paper, that the paper says they're actually opening up 2 new child emergency services in Bristol and Kingsport. That's why I voted to have somebody come in here and speak to us and tell us exactly what was going on. I mean, we all love what the newspaper says. We've experienced that even earlier tonight. But I'm just telling you what the article in the paper said. That 2 were being opened, 2 new child emergency services. I know what NICU is. I have a daughter that works in it. So, I mean, you can't tell me anything about it, but it doesn't say they're closing it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner George.
I think on the NICU, and my understanding is that there will still be a NICU at Wellmont, but the high-risk pregnancies, if they start at a certain level, are going to be moved or will be at Nicewunger or Johnson City because of some other involvement. And what was mentioned is I think there was 8, and it's in the knowledge. I don't know if my data is correct because it said I don't have them to ask. If I'm remembering correctly, there were 8 babies in Kingsport last year of the level that we're talking about. And what it was said is that when you keep a qualified full-time staff and you only have 8 babies a year, you are not getting, it's just, I mean, if you only do a surgery once every 6 months, and so a surgeon does 10 a year, are you going to want that surgeon, or are you going to want the surgeon that does 550 a year? I mean, they're saying that the babies will have better care if we have enough in one place to justify having the absolute best trained people to fulfill that need. My understanding, and it's again, being that we don't have them to ask these questions here, I did not understand that was being a closure. I think, they were saying there would still be babies born there, but there are a certain number, which is, that need a special level of care. We don't have enough of those for 3 hospitals. And that's just from recollection.
Thank you. I'm going to break my own rule. It might appear that we don't have all the information we need in the appearance of passing a resolution. Commissioner Lott.
The opioid crisis is real right here in Sullivan County. This is filed September 4, 2018, the Circuit County Court Clerk's office there. 1/3 of the babies born in Sullivan County in 2017 were addicted to narcotics. We do have a need for NICU at Holston Valley. The numbers are there. I do know that. This is filed. This was Barry Staubus's report, and it's on file. I can make copies of it. We even have inside Sullivan County a lawsuit right now filed on behalf of the pharmaceutical companies prescribing opioids. That's, NICU is needed in Kingsport, inside Sullivan County.
Commissioner Starr.
I have a post here from a NICU nurse at Holston Valley. She says, and I quote, "I am completely devastated now knowing that our NICU will no longer be where it has been since opening over 30 years ago, and everything will be in Johnson City."
And I don't mean to be unkind, that's a post on Facebook.
But it's
On Facebook.
from a nurse that works there. She should know.
Okay, that's fine. Did you finish?
Yes.
Thank you. Attorney Street.
Mr. Chairman, I feel a little bit responsible for that. I made the statement they were closing the NICU. That's what I've heard. And I think several other people out here have heard that. And I understand it's correct. But I heard that yesterday, and I texted my daughter, who's a pediatrician. I asked, "Is it true that they're closing the NICU at Holston Valley?" And she responded, "They're closing the NICU. We are no longer going to have a neonatologist in Kingsport."
If that's to you, and your daughter. Consider the information you have. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. What I'm holding in my hands is News Channel 5 WCYB released today by John Ingalls, Thursday, November 15th. Ballot Health addresses concerns about NICU centralization in Johnson City, and it plainly says, over the next year, Ballot Health will reposition NICU services from Holston Valley Center in Kingsport to Niswonger Children's Hospital in Johnson City. That's WCYB Channel 5 today. So if it's not true, there's liability on their part. I'm reading straight from them. So that is a true statement. And if everybody's done speaking, I'm ready to vote on this.
I believe the board just got cleared.
Mr. Chairman, I'll request a call.
Renew your motion?
Yeah, renew my motion from 10:30. I've got to go on, so let's
Are you
go.
moving at 10:30? You want to renew your motion? Mr. Vance renews his motion for immediate introduction and adoption of item number 12, by waiving the rule. Seconded by Commissioners Locke, Stidham, and those voting in the affirmative. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Aker,
Yes.
Blaylock,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Calton is absent, Cole,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Crosswhite,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
George, Glover,
Yes.
Parker Road,
Yes.
Hutton,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
No.
Leonard,
Yes.
Locke,
Yes.
Morrell,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stanley,
Yes.
Starnes,
Yes.
Stidham,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Have
yes, 2 no, 1 absent.
received necessary majority, item number 12 is adopted. Ms. Starnes, I owe you an apology. Yes, I do. No, honestly, I guess it was a sore spot when we read the WCYB and if we got a report out of it. I guess that's legitimate media, and I hate to doubt Facebook, but, and if you know the person, if you know the person personally, I would take your word for it, that is true, but having come through having survived the summer of Facebook, I'm sorry, I've got a problem. Okay, next up, Mr. Jones, for what reason?
I just want
to be clear, I think that report that Commissioner Broughton read only mentioned Kingsport. Does Bristol have a NICU unit?
No, they do not.
So they've never had one in Bristol anyway? Okay.
I guess we have to have faith in news media sometime. It's hard. Mr. Crawford, you're recognized on item number 13.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Did I announce that? Okay.
I think this resolution is directed at two words in it, that we are expressing concern about decisions downgrading care. And these are at medical facilities here in Sullivan County. And I think that's been a big concern about the whole population of Sullivan County, whether it be a NIC unit or whether it be a trauma center. We don't need to be downgrading care for people. We need to be lifting up care for people. And the only thing I can say is if my granddaughter had a wreck there at the intersection of Clinchfield and Stone Drive, and knowing that Holston Valley was right where it was at, and they did not have a level 1 trauma center to care for my granddaughter and save her life, I just don't know how I'd react to that. I think the care is there. Sometimes we put the almighty dollar in front of a life. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and make things work. And I think this is about the care of all of our medical facilities in Sullivan County. I'd entertain any questions or comments.
Mr. Crawford moves for immediate introduction and passage of item number 13. Mr. Broughton, your co-sponsor, you're recognized.
Yes, sir, thank you. This resolution is designed to prevent what happened today from happening again. Not that we have an active role in what Ballot or any other future company may do, but just that we're involved in the discussions. Every one of us in here, whether it's related to the pet shelter, the schools, EMS, or this, has got a phone call. And it would just be nice to know what's going on by the folks that are making these decisions. That's the intent of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones.
Mr. Crawford, I think there's a misprint. To downgrade level 2 to a downgraded to level 3. That should be level 3 to level 2, shouldn't it?
No.
Isn't it going from a 2 to a 3? I mean a 3 to a 2? Oh, so it's going down, okay.
Bristol
I was reading it the other way.
Bristol was a 2, it's going to 3.
It's going from a 2 to a 3, and Holston Valley will be a 3. They're going to a 3, from a 1 to a 3. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you. Hello, okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess what bothers me is that the article in the newspaper, and I read it too, and the quotes by Mr. Levine just don't match what Dr. Spivey said. And I've known Dr. Spivey since high school. He's as reliable source as you can get. So ordinarily it wouldn't be in our interest to get in a contest, so to speak, with a major corporation.
What kind of contest? No. I'm sorry, Pat.
But you know that I think we have a right to be skeptical now. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. I'm sorry. I couldn't pass that up. This is a very serious matter, and I shouldn't be. Commissioner Brown.
I was just going to move the vote, but Hunter clicked in, so it's whatever Hunter will say.
I second that.
You're calling for vote, then we got a lot of agreement here, and I got to take agreement while I've got it. Mr. Crawford and Mr. Broughton move to introduce item number 13, immediate introduction and passage, seconded by all those voting in the affirmative. Requires 16 votes for passage. Madam Clerk, would you take the vote on item 13?
Baker? Blaylock?
Yes.
Broughton?
Yes.
Calvin? Absent. Cole?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Crosswhite? Gardner?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Glover?
Yes.
Parkrow?
Yes.
Hutton?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Morrell?
Yes.
Show?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yes.
Starnes?
Yes.
Stidham?
Yes.
Vance?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I should have been asking.
It's all right.
If no one wants to change their vote, 19 yes, 1 absent.
Having received the necessary majority, item 13. Item 13 is adopted as published. That,
Yes, it's late. I don't think well after
Oh, you're fine.
14.
after I got past my bedtime, I felt pretty good. That completes our resolution agenda. I've got one announcement here. There's an issue, I try to keep it if somebody punches in. There's an issue while logging on to county email, if you all have experienced it. It's a glitch with security certificates. If you're using Google Chrome, click Continue to Website. Or use an alternative web browser such as Internet Explorer. So if you're having trouble, what I do is call Bobby. Call Bobby. Just forget what I said, call Bobby. Closing out here, Dan, let me recognize you, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say real quick, the liquor by the drink, I went down about a month ago and argued that before the Tennessee Supreme Court. And they just started a new program like 2 days before where they video the oral arguments. So if anybody wants to watch some boring stuff. And this actually was pretty active argument, at least in the beginning. I think everybody got tired as it wore on. But anyway, you can watch the oral argument, 5 counties involved, 5 cities. And I'm setting up. And I had, for what it's worth, I had 13 pages of prepared text, and that included a lot of footnotes. And I didn't even get started. And as soon as I opened my mouth, I started asking questions, and they didn't stop for 20 minutes. So I never even got to my prepared text. Anyway, you can watch it. Go to Tennessee Supreme Court, and there'll be a link for video, oral arguments, just in case you're interested, the liquor by the drink case. And I'm expecting a decision in that case probably within the next 2 months.
And win, lose, or draw, I'm proud of the work you've done on it, because I know you put in about 2 years of hard work. When you started to introduce that and said liquor by the drink, I thought the bar was open. I'm going to go. Let me make a comment. You all have distinguished yourself tonight, I think. We've had a really good discussion, and you decided some really hard things, and you did it with some class and grace, and I appreciate that, particularly as chairman. You've made my job really easy. So thank you for being here. Thank you for staying late. Anybody needs a tardy slip, I'll sign them in my office after this. I'm going to work tomorrow, and I'm going to get Mr. Bailey to sign me one. So I would entertain a motion from Commissioner Crawford to adjourn, seconded by Commissioner Cross.